collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, the leaders of the two communities in Cyprus join forces to inaugurate an exhibition in Nicosia.
Together with my friend and counterpart Nicos, with whom we have embarked on a journey to create a better future for our common country.
I have the privilege to be here with Mustafa Akinci, a Turkish Cypriot leader with whom we share the same vision. A vision of transforming Cyprus into a model of ethnic, cultural, religious and linguistic cooperation and coexistence.
Following the arrival of 115 refugees rescued off the Cypriot coast last weekend, we talked to the UNHCR about their plight.
There are around 6,000 refugees residing in Cyprus, according to the statistics. And one of the big issues, one of the biggest concerns, let's say, of refugees is that they don't really feel that they are part of the society. So there is a lot of way forward for good integration of refugees.
A bi-communal Europe Direct office opens in the buffer zone.
So this is where people can get this information, and if there is an issue that is not known, these people who are here are trained. You know, they can search, they can go to their source and find this information for you.
And an artist and a photographer offer a different Vision of Nicosia.
The work I've made for the exhibition is a combination of the black and white street photography and these images that I made in the Green Line, which I chose to do with my eyes closed. So all the images are taken. I didn't see it. They're random. The framing is random. We took about 2.5 hours to do it. I used disposable cameras, so it really was random and triggered by non-visual cues, so sounds and smells and atmospheric sort of changes in temperature.
The leaders of the two communities in Cyprus joined forces on Monday evening at the Centre for Visual Arts and Research. They were at the inauguration for the Glafkos Clerides personal collection. Clerides, of course, was president from 1993 to 2003, but active in politics in Cyprus from the late 1950s until a few years before his death. The collection was donated by Clerides' daughter Katie, and the two leaders both spoke at the inauguration. First of all, Mustafa Akinci, leader of the Turkish Cypriots.
Dear friend Nicos, dear Katie, dear Costa and Rita, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is a matter of great privilege for me to address you today at a special occasion, paying tribute to a special man. I am honored to be inaugurating the exhibition of select items from the personal belongings of the late Cypriot leader Nicos Anastasiades, together with my friend and counterpart Nicos, with whom we have embarked on a journey to create a better future for our common country. One of the famous poems written about journeys is the one written by Kawafi, who advises people to always keep Ithaca in their minds during the journey. Likewise, I believe we must not lose sight of our goal for a better and brighter future for our younger generations in a bi-communal and bi-zonal federal solution whereby all Cypriots will live in peace and harmony. I believe this is also what Clerides had in mind about a decade ago when he demonstrated real leadership to his people during difficult political times. This special man deserves to be remembered, and what a better way of doing that than this exceptional exhibition that we are about to inaugurate this evening. I was informed about the passing away of Nicos Anastasiades at a time when I was abroad, and therefore could not attend the funeral in person. but I shared the grief of the family and of the Greek Cypriot community through a statement in which I said that despite the big age difference, Kyriadis was one of the few leaders with whom I could establish a sincere dialogue during the period when both of us were party leaders. In fact, Kyriadis was perceived as one of the moderate and realistic Greek Cypriot leaders with his political stance after 1974. That perception was strengthened even more so in his 4-volume book, My Deposition, with his references to the mistakes committed in the name of both Cypriot communities. Today, almost 2 years after his loss, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to an old friend, Katie Kyriadis, for taking the initiative to donate items from her father's personal collection to the Center for Visual Arts and Research, which aims to promote culture, education, peaceful coexistence, understanding and cooperation between the two communities of Cyprus under the auspices of a couple who have their hearts in the right place. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to thank this couple, Kostas and Rita Severis, for hosting this exhibition and contributing tirelessly to peace and reconciliation in our island. I would like to end with a quote from the youngest ever Nobel Prize laureate, Malala Yousafzai, who said, "I truly believe the only way we can create global peace is through not only educating our minds, but our hearts and our souls." I believe through these kind of activities, we are doing that. Let us join our forces to work harder in order to achieve a mutually acceptable solution as soon as possible. The journey of negotiations, which started in Beirut between Denktash and Kyriadis, has been going on for too long, namely 47 years since 1968. Let us keep our journey to Ithaca much shorter this time, because we must have learned a lot from the previous journeys. And let us demonstrate the necessary determination to change the fate of Sisyphus. Thank you for your attention.
The gathering was then addressed by President Nicos Anastasiades.
Nicos Kyriadis, a fierce warrior of peace, formed his first political impressions during World War II, the most destructive recorded war ever experienced by humanity. As a prisoner of war in the German camps, Nicos Kyriadis experienced firsthand the brutality of this war. The immensity of Nicos Kyriadis' spirit allowed him to transform those brutal memories of hatred and destruction into a life of purpose and meaning, guided by his personal vision for peace. His life's goal became the reunification of Cyprus and the peaceful coexistence of its people. His legacy is marked precisely by that vision, to see lasting peace and prosperity take root in this beloved homeland, Cyprus. Kyriadis passionately defended his vision until the end of his days against all odds. A perceptive visionary, Nicos Kyriadis understood world politics and Cyprus' position on the geopolitical map. With a calm, dialectical, moderate, yet courageous approach, Kyriadis became the proponent of the main political school of thought in Cyprus politics. His realism, coupled with his Europeanism, envisions a peaceful Cyprus, member of the larger European family, and a state in which all the citizens would enjoy equal rights to life, education, prosperity, and security. He considered the accession of Cyprus to the EU as a historical achievement for his country and its people. An achievement that was never a given or an easy one, but to which he dedicated his political life and applied his political skills with ultimate success. During his lifetime and his political career, Glafkos Clearidis was regrettably not fortunate enough to have as an interlocutor at the negotiating table a Turkish Cypriot leader who shared his vision for Cyprus. Today, I have the privilege to be here with Mustafa Akinci, a Turkish Cypriot leader with whom we share the same vision. A vision of transforming Cyprus into a model of ethnic, cultural, religious and linguistic cooperation and coexistence. We both agree that turning our vision into reality will not materialize overnight. It will require political courage and determination in order to overcome challenges so as to reach a settlement which will respect the sensitivities of both sides. A solution that will not leave winners or losers. Let me assure you that I am deeply committed and determined to put an end to this unacceptable status quo and reunify our country and its people to a prosperous European member state, fulfilling in this way a promise to my political mentor, Nicos Anastasiades. My dear friends, it is of immense significance that these objects, which are intertwined with life and work of Nicos Anastasiades, receive today a permanent home in this unique institution, the Center for Visual Arts and Research of the Severis Foundation. Rita and Kostas envisions the idea of this foundation as a bi-communal culture center which should bring together Greek and Turkish Cypriots, highlighting their common past and heritage and preparing them for their common future. As rightly stated by Kostas and Rita, it is only by learning from our past that we can plant the seeds of hope and build solid bridges to a better future. I'm confident that the Glafkos Clearidis collection will be an invaluable addition to this foundation as a historical deposition from the life of a man who dedicated his whole life to the prosperity of his country and people. Thank you very much.
The leaders of the two communities in Cyprus at the inauguration of the Glafkos Clearidis personal collection, which will be on permanent display at the Centre for Visual Arts and Research in Nicosia.
You can subscribe to the Cyprus News Digest on iTunes for free and get the program downloaded to your phone or tablet so you can listen anytime, anywhere.
Last weekend, a boat carrying 115 refugees from Syria was rescued in dire straits off the coast of Cyprus. The refugees were brought ashore and some taken to the Kofinu reception centre, those who'd asked for asylum, the rest put up in a tented camp in Kokinotrimitia, just outside Nicosia. It was shades of this time last year, because it's almost exactly a year since a boat washed up again with refugees from Syria. Joining us on the programme to talk about this issue and how we've learned, perhaps, from last year's ship is Emilia Strovolidou from the UNHCR. Emilia, it did seem to go much more smoothly this time. The numbers were smaller, okay, but I believe that we've now got a situation where all the refugees who were in the tented camp have been moved to the reception centre, where the conditions are obviously rather better.
Indeed, The government of Cyprus has shown prepared to receive this group of refugees, more prepared than it was last year ago when it was the first time. So the search and rescue operation went well, and luckily we didn't have any losses of lives, as happens daily in the Mediterranean with thousands of refugees arriving in European shores. And eventually they were, after disembarkation, as you said, the majority was transferred to the temporary reception center at Kokino Trimithia, and around 20 people, 3 families basically, were transferred to Kofinu, where the conditions are far better than Kokino Trimithia. And today we are very happy to hear, just now actually, we've been notified by the government that the decision has been taken to transfer all refugees to the Kofinu reception center. That was our position from the beginning, because the conditions are much more better in Kofinu.
But they're still not ideal, are they? I mean, Kofinu could do with a little bit of, shall we say, upgrading maybe, to give refugees better facilities?
Probably we will need some kind of support, in the sense that refugees could be given some, things to do there. I mean, language courses maybe, or entertainment, some kind of activities, let's say, so that they don't feel isolated. Because this is the feeling that we get from the people who are residing at the Kofinu reception center.
Because it's pretty well in the middle of nowhere.
It's isolated. So this is something that we will need to address with all the residents of the Kofinu reception center.
The UNHCR, though, is very much in favour of the integration of people who've asked for asylum and so on. Do you think that holding them in a facility that is really pretty well in the middle of nowhere helps that?
Look, the accommodation at the Kofinu reception center is only temporary, because it's only for asylum seekers. So while the decision for the asylum application is pending, they will reside in the reception center.
But that could take months.
Well, by law, it should not take more than 6 months. So this is the ceiling, let's say, of the duration. Sometimes it may take more, but the conditions there are much better, as we said, especially to address the immediate needs of the group who just arrived. So we do believe that is a very good step, that those refugees have been transferred there. Of course, the issue of supporting the infrastructure there and reinforce it, when we stand ready to support. We will see the needs, we will assess the needs of the refugees on the one hand, and of the personnel there, and we will try to support them so that the needs are accommodated in the best way possible.
All right, and we talked at the beginning about the boat that came last year, and a few of them did get their applications approved and are now working in Cyprus. Some of them are even actually helping, I think, with this lot of refugees.
Exactly.
Have you got figures, or at least an idea of how well integrated into society the refugees are? Do you keep in touch with them as the UNHCR, or where does your responsibility, as it were, end?
Well, if I may say about the refugees in Cyprus as a whole, there are around 6,000 refugees residing in Cyprus, according to the statistics. And one of the big issues, one of the biggest concerns, let's say, of refugees is that they don't really feel that they are part of the society. So there is a lot of way forward for good integration of refugees here in Cyprus. They need to be supported through targeted programs like language. Language is the first tool for people to to start their lives in their new country, and of course other programs to help them in finding their way here in Cyprus, employment, people who are traumatized and they need psychological and social support to be able to stand on their own foot. So there is a lot of work to be done in that regard, and a good starting point would be a comprehensive program for the integration of refugees that at this point is not in place.
That is Emilia Strovolidou from the UNHCR.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
Europe Direct, the bi-communal version in Nicosia, was launched officially this week. George Markopouliodis is the head of the European Union representation in Cyprus. George, tell us about the significance of this, because you have 3 other Europe Directs in Cyprus and an info point, I think, in the north of Cyprus, but this is different.
That is correct. We have a very large, a very extensive network of Europe Direct centres, of which we have 3, essentially 4 in Cyprus, or 1 in Paphos, 1 in Limassol, 1 in Larnaca, plus a centre north of the Green Line. Now, this one is a very special one because it's a bi-communal one. Essentially, it's a multi-communal one because it is open to all communities in Cyprus. And I think the symbolism, but also the reality of people from all communities being able to come here and ask things about the EU, whether it's some abstract notion about Europe or whether it's a really down-to-earth thing about where can I get some money for my project, where can I go and study in a different country, is extremely important for our Turkish Cypriot friends, also for our Greek Cypriot friends, but also for the other communities. So it is a very special centre. It's in a very special place in the home of cooperation. And we're very proud about this because I think it's not only is the practicality of this being able to provide this information to all communities, but also the symbolism that it is one thing, it's one centre for what hopefully will be the future of a united Cyprus.
And for those not familiar, of course, with Cyprus, when we say the home for cooperation, the significance of that is that it's in the UN buffer zone and accessible from both sides of the Green Line.
Exactly. It's in the buffer zone, again, by itself a very symbolic and very emblematic place, which houses the home of cooperation, where people from the Turkish Cypriot side, people from the Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, they come here together, they drink coffee, they meet, they become friends, they talk about their relative problems, which, by the way, appear to be the same. They don't have all that great differences. So hence they will have the opportunity in the same place to be able to ask questions which relate to Europe and get these answers in the buffer zone without having necessarily to stay either in the north of the Green Line or to be in Larnaca or in Paphos or in Limassol. Of course, all this is supported also by our office because, if people can get a lot of information on Europe now in Cyprus. It's just a question, ask it. We're there to serve you, we're there to help you, we're there to give you all this information, which at the end of the day, might be catalytic, might be helpful in solving quite a lot of problems. Where can I study next? Where can I get a grant from the EU or from the Cyprus Republic to open up a business or something like that? So this is where people can get this information, and if there is an issue that is not known, these people who are here are trained. They can search, they can go to the source and find this information for you. It's free, it doesn't cost anything, so why not use it?
Why not indeed? That's George Markopouliodis, head of the EU Commission representation in Cyprus, talking about the brand new bi-communal Europe Direct office in the buffer zone in Nicosia.
Get in touch with the Cyprus News Digest by emailing cyprusnewsdigest@gmail.com.
From April until July this year, my next 2 guests on the programme lived and worked in the streets of Nicosia. And they've visited both communities, and they've made an event, in fact an exhibition, that looks at our capital city with fresh eyes. They are Angus Reid and Dinda Fass. Dinda, what gave you the idea for this exhibition?
The idea from this exhibition actually originated with Angus's work that he made. When was it?
29 years ago.
29 years ago.
1986.
So maybe he can say a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I was 19 years old, I went on one of those freewheeling holidays where you keep borrowing money and carrying on, and that particular great long journey ended up hitting the Green Line. That's where I stopped. And because I'd been painting, and I had a friend in Cyprus who painted as well, I started to paint. He said, don't go near the Green Line. You can't take photographs. He then went to work, and I picked up his easel and his palette and a canvas, and I thought, I bet I can paint where it's not allowed to photograph. And my painting at that time, as a sort of complete ingénu, took off. It became very exciting to me. And I was, at that time on the Greek side, there were a lot of working class communities, artisan communities, right beside the Green Line, who supported me through that process. Who, when I was told to stop by soldiers, would say, ignore the soldiers. Do you want a coffee? This was a beautiful experience that I've treasured all my life, and life then intervened, and I made my films and my plays and my books and my I brought up my kids and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, right, now's the time to return to Cyprus. And of course the Cyprus I returned to is almost identical. It's hardly changed at all, except for the crossing. So we found that when we crossed and we went to the other side, an absolutely beautiful welcome in these communities that live along the Green Line on the other side. So the paintings from this year, I think, reflect this new tolerance, this new openness. There's some sense of celebration in them.
So you do the painting and you do the photography.
Yeah, that's right. So we spent a day in Nicosia last autumn, and we kind of said, okay, I'll see you in a couple of hours, and Angus went to do some drawing, and I did a walk around with my camera, and we met up again, and we were like, we must come back and make a project here. So then we went back to Scotland and planned to come back. So we came back in April, and I've basically have been cycling around the whole city, within the city walls and around, making black and white photographs, really street photography, and also had a chance to walk through the Green Line from east to west. And the work I've made for the exhibition is a combination of the black and white street photography and these images that I made in the Green Line, which I chose to do with my eyes closed. So all the images are taken. I didn't see it. They're random. The framing is random. We took about 2.5 hours to do it. I used disposable cameras, so it really was random and triggered by non-visual cues, so sounds and smells and atmospheric sort of changes in temperature. And
so that's a different idea for a photographic exhibition too. And how do you put the two things together, the paintings and the photographs?
Well,
exhibition?
they belong to the same time. I mean, we shared the time together. So, for example, I was painting on the street that was Victoria Street. It used to be called Victoria Street, where there's a gate at the end. And I was very attracted to that street for some reason. And so I was drawing and painting, and quickly all the kids in the street come. And they all want to paint. They're all sitting beside me and they're taking my paints. And so, I called Dinda and I said, Dinda, please come and make a workshop with these kids or nothing will happen. So in the 5 days it took to make the painting, we basically made a kind of huge community arts workshop right there in the street with a lot of drawings on the street, and also even drawings in chalk on the military wall, which was all, it all just felt really, really good. And the painting kind of documents that, but also provoked it. So we were working together in these situations, and a lot of the photographs reflect that. We needed one another to do it. Okay, and together we make a bigger view, I think.
And a view coming from the different genre, of course. So tell me then, it's already on in the north,
yep,
and it's coming to the south, I think, next week.
Yes, it opens at Gloria Gallery on Zenu Suzu, the famous Gloria Gallery, the wonderful Gloria Gallery. She actually offered me an exhibition 30 years ago, and this is now the exhibition that she offered me 30 years ago, and it's much better than it would have been then, because I knew nothing then, and it's got Dinda's work in it too. So we decided, but we so wanted to make this, felt such a good creative opportunity that we've just gone ahead anyway. And that's brought great fruits. In the north, we thought it has to be in both communities. It must be shared in both communities, and we want to show people that you can just do that. You can just do that if you decide to do it. And in the north, I had this great opportunity. I met a guy from EVCAF organization who personally took responsibility for the fact that I turned the roof of Hagia Sophia, the big mosque, into my studio for a month and a half, because that was a beautiful place from which to see Nicosia as a whole. There's a great panorama from that roof. Beside the mosque is Bedestan, this huge church where the exhibition is right now, and it's glorious, it's wonderful. And then next Tuesday the 15th, we move everything back to Gloria's, and it'll be at Gloria's from the 15th, which is the opening, until the 26th.
So that is Vision of Nicosia. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.